Locked and loaded now, Rosie. New Year's resolutions. I know you love this. You had a tough time answering my question last week about what you remembered most about 2022 for the Leafs. But what's your New Year's resolution, Leafs related here?
Well, it's not to have a whole 2023 and it goes into next season and we're going to blend the two seasons, even though there's different players and it's not even the same fucking thing. It's so dumb. But for the rest of the season, I mean, let's be honest. The obvious one is to get, break through and get to the second round of the playoffs. That's pretty much the obvious New Year's resolution for this team. But to go beyond that, it is to continue this like defense first mentality where the forwards and everyone's taking care and they're not like, we haven't seen really gross turnovers this year like we have in the past. We haven't seen like negligent efforts on the back checks and things like that. We've really seen like a nice collapse down low and you're protecting the house and keeping things away from your net and helping out defensively. And I mean, look at out through time, that's what wins championships is big defense and good goaltending. So, I want them to continue doing that, get better at it. And I want them to keep growing as a group, that this is the group to go forward. I don't know if they're going to be able to add a big piece or not. So I'm just trusting in this group and hoping that they get better every single game like they honestly have been so far this year. Keep on track.
Firstly, thanks for shitting on my producer work. I'm just trying to create content here for the program. Number two, I guess you forgot about the month of October where every game there was about 7-8 giveaways a night. But we have that in the rearview mirror. Mine's pretty simple, dude. Lock down home ice in round one. So they're 5 points up on Tampa. The Bolts have 2 games in hand. I say let's try this again. We all know it's going to a game 7. I'll put money on it right now that it goes to a game 7 in round 1. I'd rather it be at Scotiabank Arena. That's why I always bring up House of Pain, House of Pain, House of Pain. I'd rather that game 7 be on home ice. So that's probably my number one New Year's resolution. I'm not going to be that guy that says win a round because it hasn't happened since 2004. Let's lock down home ice in round 1 here.
Yeah, I like it, man. It's going to be some intense playoff watching this year. Like to go to game 7. I know you guys did it last year, but to follow it the way we have this year, and you've been doing it a little longer than me, that's for sure. But just specifically Leafs watching the playoffs this year, man, I feel what the Leafs fans have felt for a long time. It's going to be just like, come on. And to go into a game 7, like how do you even sleep before? I think it's more stressful being like a fan or a watcher, a hoper of the team than it is to be a player because you just go and try to take care of business. But it's going to be intense. And yeah, locking up home ice is crucial. I mean, you get those, the biggest thing, not just the game 7, but the first 2 games at home to get that, that momentum and that lead and to take control of the series, that's so huge. And you have a bigger opportunity of doing that on home ice, obviously. So that is a big deal. And I hope they don't play Tampa just to have something different happen and not to have like any of that repeat kind of feel going on. But regardless, I just want this team to just be the professionals that they are and put themselves in the best position they can and then go take care of business. So yeah, I agree. Try to lock down that home ice.
Yeah, sadly, Boston doesn't lose games.
No.
Florida's far behind now. Like it's pretty crazy. The offseason the Panthers had, the big time trade. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, which is great news for the Montreal Canadiens because they hold the first rounder, and it's not protected, by the way, of the Florida Panthers from the Sherratt trade. And I think you look at Tampa, I think we're staring down the pike of another first round showdown with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I always like to say to be the best, you got to beat the best. I said this last spring. And bring on the Tampa Bay Lightning. And that would be an incredible series. And I think the Leafs actually play them really, really well.
Yeah, it would be good. Just they're not doing as well, but I could see that them being a team that fires it up right at the last minute and finds their stride, in April. And they're just so well coached, I believe, that anything's possible. So again, like you say, you got to beat the best. You want to be the best, so you got to get it done and go into the playoffs with everything well rounded. I've been saying since October, this whole season is about putting building blocks together, getting a little bit better, learning lessons, and getting to the point where, come April, you are a well-oiled machine and you are ready to fucking rock. And that's what they've been doing. They're heading that way so far, and they've gone through adversity. They've had a tough start. They've had injuries out the ass, and they've come out really strong because of all that. And hopefully that just continues. But yeah, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves looking at the playoffs too hard, but it's hard not to, man. And it's weird you say Florida, like look how fast it can leave you, right? Like last year around
Yeah.
this time they were like Stanley Cup contenders, favorites even, and it's like, and then they just get swept and then don't make the playoffs potentially. Like, wow, it can happen fast. So that's kind of why I'm like, savor it while it's good, boys. Like this is good. We're flying high. Stop naysaying. Just be happy with what we have and believe and trust in the team and moving forward and quit living in the past, Nick.
I was laughing. I have a buddy on the Panthers who got recalled a couple weeks ago. Has been playing some games, and he messaged me to ask me what my question on Twitter was about because I asked, "Are the Panthers making the playoffs?" I said, "I don't know, man. I'm just asking the questions. I understand. I understand players read social media, but like to me, that's one of the bigger shocking stories of 2022. I know you like to look back at that year, but the Panthers going all in on a Matthew Tkachuk trade, and I think he's been outstanding, but." I think obviously there's a lot of holes on that roster, and to be this far out, I think with half a season remaining is surprising for me. I thought at the very least they'd be involved in the conversation, but I think it just shows you in general, Rosie, how good Boston, Tampa, and Toronto have been. Like they literally win every night. It's crazy.
It's true, man. It's almost like, you feel like it's like the Jays playing, in their division where, for
Yeah,
years you're going up against the Yankees and the Bo Sox and you just don't really have a chance no matter what team you put together. And it's kind of like that in this division. Like there's teams that just aren't losing, like even the Leafs who are, not really contending to win the division right now. They hardly ever lose. They don't really lose back to backs, and
it's crazy.
they
Yeah.
can beat anybody, and it's just still so hard to gain ground. And that Boston story is quite interesting. I don't think they were on a lot of people's radar going into the season, and then they get that coaching change, and holy shit, they have certainly found something. And fingers crossed they cool off a little bit. It's a hard pace to keep up to, but they've been doing it for a long time and don't seem to be letting up. So whatever, it is what it is. Like you say, you get in the playoffs, you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, get in the playoffs,
Yeah.
and then it's brand new season, boys.
Really is remarkable. We've talked a lot about Toronto's goaltending. Linus Ullmark is like 21-1-1. Like those numbers are ridiculous. And I think obviously the front runner right now for the Vezina Trophy, lots of racetrack remaining in this season. I know Montana's is throwing those viewing parties again. I think we might have to have a viewing party if Toronto and Tampa play each other and stream it live on YouTube because we're going to lose our shit, aren't we?
Yeah, and we'll like film us going to the liquor store and getting our beers like
Yeah.
the barn burner
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
a
I
big
knocked my mic
advocate
out
for
of the
that.
way.
We
Yeah.
don't need
Yeah.
to be doing this for 15 years to do that. Screw
No.
those guys. Let's do it now.